Following the Second World War and expanding throughout the Cold War, global power projection rested heavily upon a specific logistical architecture. Nations maintained influence by deploying a massive, permanent grid of static, forward-positioned outposts across the globe. These installations operated under two highly reliable assumptions. First, their exact daily operations and supply lines remained obscured by geographical distance and classified intelligence. Second, they operated under the presumed security of an impenetrable air defense umbrella. Stationing fighter wings, naval fleets, and massive fuel reserves near potential conflict zones allowed these bases to function as unsinkable aircraft carriers. A nation could project immediate, coercive influence into a target region without facing a serious threat of a conventional counterattack. This model operated highly effectively for decades. It succeeded precisely because regional adversaries lacked the long-range precision strike capabilities required to hold these remote, fortified facilities at risk. Modern orbital intelligence and long-range precision strike networks have stripped those historical protections away. A fixed, immobile installation can no longer project uncontested power. Sprawling concrete runways, fuel farms, and radar domes have instead become concentrated, highly visible target traps. This collapse in base survivability is driven by three converging factors: the democratization of commercial intelligence, the physical limitations of engagement radars, and the unforgiving economics of modern defense manufacturing. Inescapable mathematical and physical laws now dictate the mechanics of strike warfare, making the obsolescence of the forward-deployed base a structural reality. Any immobile military asset today sits permanently within an unavoidable firing arc. When maintaining a foreign outpost costs more to defend than it projects an influence, it loses its strategic deterrence value. The first systemic failure of the forward base model is the loss of operational concealment. Previously, superpowers held a strict monopoly on orbital intelligence. Today, we operate in an era of information parity. Commercial entities now manage vast constellations of synthetic aperture radar, or SAR, satellites. This technology has driven a rapid transition toward global, continuous transparency. Unlike traditional optical cameras, SAR satellites project microwave energy down to the Earth. This allows them to penetrate heavy cloud cover, smoke, and total darkness, capturing structural data 24 hours a day. Paired with open-source intelligence networks, these commercial orbital sensors continuously map every foreign runway, aviation fuel depot, and command node in near real time. Because this infrastructure is entirely static, we cannot dodge, hide, or relocate. The exact latitude and longitude of an ammunition bunker can be permanently hard-coded into an adversary's guidance computer thousands of miles away. Without the shield of secrecy to rely on, the element of surprise is eliminated. A foreign base must now rely entirely on its physical defense systems to survive a conflict. To protect these exposed targets, militaries deployed Tier 1 integrated air and missile defense systems, such as the American Patriot platform. These hit-to-kill interceptors are exceptional feats of engineering. They are expertly optimized to track and destroy high-end, complex ballistic targets moving at extreme velocities. This diagram illustrates the first physical limitation of these systems. To function, a phased array radar must illuminate an incoming target, calculate its trajectory, and transmit guidance updates. But a radar processor possesses a finite number of channels. It can only lock on to a strict maximum number of targets simultaneously before its tracking capacity is reached. Adversaries exploit this hardware limit through salvo saturation, firing a tiered, layered wave of munitions. Wave 1 consists of dozens, or even hundreds, of cheap, slow-moving autonomous loitering drones. Their objective is not to cause catastrophic structural damage. They are launched specifically to flood the radar's processing capability and max out its tracking channels. This triggers the second physical limitation: finite launch tubes. A standard battery carries a limited number of ready-to-fire missiles in its canisters, and reloading requires heavy crane equipment that takes hours to execute. To prevent the drones from impacting the base, the automated defense system is forced to burn through its limited reserve of multi-million-dollar interceptors just to clear the threat queue of cheap decoys. Once the radar channels are saturated and the interceptor tubes are empty, Wave 2 arrives. High-speed precision kinetic missiles easily penetrate the depleted umbrella, striking the base infrastructure with zero resistance. Advanced air defenses do not fail because of software glitches or poor engineering. They fail because they are physically outmathed by the volume of targets. Even if a base commander successfully intercepts every incoming target, the installation faces a second, equally terminal threat, the financial consequence of survival. This split-screen ledger demonstrates the cost-exchange ratio, the foundational economic arithmetic governing modern strategic warfare. On the offensive side, a regional attacker utilizes long-range autonomous drones constructed from commercial components. Launching an engagement swarm of 100 drones at $20,000 each costs the attacker exactly $2 million. On the defensive side, intercepting those 100 targets requires firing 100 advanced PAC-3 MSE hit-to-kill interceptors. At roughly $3.5 million per round, the defender's cost totals $350 million. This creates a 175-to-1 asymmetric financial penalty, placed squarely on the defending power. This inverse ratio drains defense budgets so rapidly that every successful interception functions as a self-inflicted economic loss. Expending $350 million in precision hardware to neutralize a $2 million attack yields a strategic defeat over time, regardless of whether the base survives the night. This financial drain quickly accelerates into an immediate physical crisis. Defense systems run out of hardware before a nation runs out of money. The attacker holds a massive industrial advantage. Standard commercial factories, operating with automated robotics, can stamp out thousands of drone fuselages in days. The defender is bound by the extreme precision required to build a hypersonic interceptor. These missiles cannot be mass-produced on a commercial line. They require sterile defense cleanrooms and meticulous hands-on assembly by specialized technicians. Sourcing the complex solid rocket propellants, securing the guidance chips, and hand-routing the fiber optic wiring requires a lead time of 24 to 30 months just to complete a single missile. Because of these intense labor requirements, the total global output for top-tier interceptors is roughly 40 to 50 rounds per month. The arithmetic here is absolute. A defending battery engaged in a single 10-minute swarm attack can burn through more than half a year of total global interceptor production. Once the stockpiles at a forward base are depleted, reloading the launchers takes hours. Manufacturing the replacements takes years. Forward bases inevitably fall because a nation's highly specialized defense cleanrooms can never keep pace with the expenditure rate forced by commercial drone factories. When you map these variables together, the continuous surveillance of commercial satellites, the channel limits of radar systems, and the 175-to-1 industrial cost penalty, the strategic reality becomes clear. Maintaining the 800-base network now generates negative net utility. Maintaining fixed outposts now drains more national wealth and critical stockpile capacity than those installations provide in actual force projection. This creates a perilous dilemma for leadership during a regional conflict. A command structure must either allow a multi-billion-dollar installation to absorb catastrophic material losses or risk escalating to nuclear weapon use simply to protect a vulnerable conventional target. A grand strategy correction is required. Security models must shift away from the hegemonic forward presence of the 20th century, adopting postures of military restraint and offshore balancing. Pulling critical assets away from static target traps and consolidating them into dispersed, home-based defensive denial architectures is the only way to restore cost-exchange parity. The global architecture of forward deployment has reached its physical limit. Maintaining security now requires adapting to the unforgiving wrath of modern warfare.